It began with a whisper, a rumor echoing through the digital depths of the internet. A link, they said, concealed within the vast sea of videos on YouTube. A cursed video, so sinister, it held the power to make anyone who dared to watch it vanish without a trace. The whispers spread like wildfire, igniting curiosity and fear in equal measure. Users from around the world sought out the elusive link, drawn by a morbid fascination with the unknown. But little did they know, they were about to unlock a horror beyond comprehension. As the cursed video proliferated across the internet, reports of disappearances began to surface. Friends, family members, and strangers alike vanished without a trace after succumbing to the allure of the cursed video. Authorities were confounded, unable to explain the sudden and inexplicable disappearances that plagued communities worldwide. Among the missing was Emily, a young woman who stumbled upon the link late one night while delving into the depths of the internet. Intrigued by the rumors surrounding the video, she clicked play, unaware of the darkness she was about to unleash. As Emily watched the video, a sense of unease gripped her soul. The images flickered and contorted before her eyes, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to leer at her from the screen. And then, abruptly, the video ended, leaving Emily feeling unsettled and afraid. That night, as Emily lay in bed trying to sleep, she heard a strange sound outside her window. Peering into the darkness, she caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure lurking in the shadows, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Terrified, Emily closed her curtains, attempting to dismiss it as a figment of her imagination. But as the days passed and the shadowy figure continued to appear outside her window, Emily knew she was in grave danger. She tried to convince herself it was just a trick of the light, a manifestation of her fear and exhaustion. Yet deep down, she knew the truth. The shadow was real, and it was coming for her. Authorities scrambled to make sense of the baffling disappearances plaguing the world. Among the missing was Michael, a college student who stumbled upon the cursed video while procrastinating on his studies. Intrigued by the rumors, he clicked play, oblivious to the impending doom. As Michael watched the video, a chill crept down his spine. The images warped and twisted, mocking him from the screen. And then, as suddenly as it began, the video ended, leaving Michael feeling disoriented and afraid. That night, as Michael lay in bed, he too heard the strange noise outside his window. Peering into the darkness, he spotted the shadowy figure, its eyes glowing with an ominous light. Terrified, Michael closed his curtains, trying to rationalize away his fear. But as the days passed and the shadowy figure persisted, Michael knew he was in grave danger. Despite his efforts to dismiss it, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. As Emily and Michael grappled with their terrifying ordeal, they found themselves drawn together by fear and desperation. Determined to uncover the truth behind the cursed video and the shadowy figure haunting their nightmares, they embarked on a perilous journey into the unknown. Their investigation led them to a remote cabin in the woods where they uncovered the sinister truth behind the cursed video. But as they delved deeper, they realized they were not alone. Something ancient and malevolent lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim their souls. And so, as Emily and Michael confronted the shadowy figure, they knew their only hope lay in facing it head-on. With trembling hands and heavy hearts, they prepared for their final stand, knowing their fate and the fate of all who had vanished hung in the balance. But But as they reached out to confront the shadow, they were consumed by its darkness. In their final moments, they realized they were destined to join the ranks of the vanished, lost forever to the cruel whims of fate. As the shadowy figure retreated into the darkness, leaving behind only echoes of sorrow and regret, the world mourned the loss of Emily and Michael. Their names would be whispered in hushed tones, their memories preserved in the hearts of those who loved them. Yet their fate would serve as a haunting reminder of the dangers that lurk in the darkest corners of the internet. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, and tell us what you thought of our story. Until our next adventure unfolds, stay safe. In the sprawling urban labyrinth of the city, where the mundane and the mysterious intertwine, a peculiar building stood silently, cloaked in the ambiguity of its own existence. Nestled between the glaring neon of a 24-hour diner and the faded elegance of an old bookstore, its facade was a relic of an era long past, untouched by the city's relentless march towards the future. This building, with its darkened windows and air of neglect, was easily overlooked by the hurried passers-by. Yet, for those who dared to glance its way, it whispered promises of secrets hidden within its crumbling walls. On this particular afternoon, as the sun's rays stretched lazily across the cityscape, casting shadows that danced in the fading light, 4 friends found themselves drawn to this enigmatic structure. Daniel, Olivia, Nathan, and Chloe, each a vibrant thread in the tapestry of their intertwined lives, stood before the building with a mix of anticipation and unease. They had been lured here by an invitation, one that spoke of an escape room experience unparalleled in its complexity and thrill. It was an adventure, a challenge they couldn't resist, yet as they lingered on the threshold, a sense of foreboding began to seep into their excitement. Daniel, the de facto leader of the group, was the first to break the silence. With his characteristic grin, he tried to dispel the growing tension, joking about the building's ominous appearance. Olivia, ever the voice of reason, cast a skeptical eye over the facade, her curiosity piqued by the promise of a puzzle that awaited them. Nathan, the quiet thinker, observed the scene with a thoughtful gaze, while Chloe, the soul of the group, looked on with a mixture of fear and fascination. As they stepped over the threshold, the door creaking ominously behind them, they were immediately enveloped by the musty scent of decay. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of untold stories, and as their eyes adjusted to the dim light, they could see that the interior was as neglected as the exterior suggested. The hallway stretched before them, its walls lined with peeling wallpaper, and its floor covered in a carpet that had long since lost its original color. A voice, ethereal and chilling, broke the silence, echoing down the corridor with a sinister delight. "Welcome, brave souls, to the labyrinth of nightmares," it crooned, sending a shiver down their spines. "You stand on the precipice of the unknown. Will you dare to unravel the mysteries that lie within, or will you succumb to the darkness that awaits?" With a shared look of determination, the friends stepped forward, each step taking them deeper into the heart of the building. The air grew colder, the shadows longer, and an inexplicable fear began to take root in their hearts. Yet driven by a mixture of curiosity and the thrill of the challenge, they pressed on, unaware that the true test was not of their minds, but of their very souls. The corridor into which they ventured was a passage through time, its air thick with the residue of 1,000 forgotten stories. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, their voices a faint murmur beneath the creak of their footsteps on the ancient floor. The initial bravado that had buoyed their spirits began to wane as the reality of their surroundings took hold. The game they had eagerly anticipated now felt ominously real, the line between entertainment and a deeper, more primal fear blurring before their eyes. As they moved deeper into the building, the hallway branched off, leading them into a series of rooms, each more bizarre and unsettling than the last. One room was filled with antique mirrors, their surfaces clouded and cracked, reflecting twisted versions of themselves back at them. Another room was a library, its shelves laden with books that seemed to age before their eyes, their titles illegible, the words within slipping away the moment they tried to read them. Each room was a puzzle, a challenge that tested not just their intellect, but their resolve, drawing them ever deeper into the labyrinth. The true nature of their challenge became apparent when they stumbled upon a room unlike any other. It was a vast, cavernous space where the shadows moved with a life of their own, and the air was charged with an electric sense of anticipation. It was here that the nightmare truly began. For Daniel, the room transformed into a vast ocean, the floor giving way beneath him to reveal water as dark as the deepest trench. Waves crashed around him, the sound deafening as he fought to stay afloat, his fear of drowning consuming him. The water was not just a physical threat, but a manifestation of his deepest anxiety, the fear of being overwhelmed, of losing control. Olivia found herself in an entirely different scenario, yet equally terrifying. The room for her became a series of ever-narrowing passages, the walls pressing in, stealing her breath. Claustrophobia clutched at her heart, her rational mind battling the panic that threatened to overwhelm her. The maze was a cruel reflection of her fear of confinement, of being trapped in a life without escape. Nathan's room was a hall of mirrors, but instead of his reflection, he saw the faces of those he had wronged, real or imagined. Each mirror played a scene of guilt and regret, the eyes of the past accusing him, the voices whispering of sins he could not atone for. His challenge was to confront his guilt, to understand that forgiveness must start from within. Chloe, meanwhile, found herself enveloped in darkness, an abyss so complete she could not see her own hands before her face. Her fear of the unknown, of what lurked in the shadows, was laid bare in this void. Whispered voices filled the air, each step forward a leap of faith into the unseen. Bound by their individual nightmares, they struggled not just for escape, but for understanding. Daniel learned to breathe through his panic, to find calm in the storm. Olivia realized that the walls were not closing in. It was her fear that made them seem so. She found strength in her vulnerability, pushing forward with a determination she hadn't known she possessed. Nathan faced his past, understanding that the mirrors were not showing him truths but the distortions of his guilt. Breaking the mirrors, he broke free from the chains of his regrets, ready to make amends and move forward. Chloe, in the deepest darkness, found a light within herself, a spark of courage that illuminated her path. She learned that the unknown was not to be feared but explored, each step an opportunity for discovery. Reunited, the friends found themselves before the final door, a gateway back to the world they knew, or so it seemed. Together they faced this last threshold, a silent testament to the trials they had endured. With hearts racing and a newfound resilience binding them, they reached for the handle, the metal cold and unyielding beneath their fingertips. As the door swung open, they were greeted not by the comforting embrace of daylight, but by a corridor that mirrored the one they had entered through, yet subtly altered, as if mocking their expectations of freedom. The building behind them was no ordinary structure, but a chameleon of fear and shadow, its true nature masked beneath layers of illusion. They stepped out, the light from the setting sun casting elongated shadows that seemed to stretch towards them as if reluctant to let go. The city around them felt eerily silent, the usual cacophony of urban life reduced to a whisper. Their eyes met, a silent question passing between them. Had they truly escaped, or had they merely traversed from one nightmare to another? As they walked away from the building, its presence looming behind them, a chilling realization settled in their hearts. The labyrinth of nightmares was not confined to the walls of the building they had entered. It was a part of them now, a shadow that would follow them, whispering of fears not fully conquered, of doors yet to be opened. The true test had only just begun. The building, once a beacon of their adventure, now stood silent, its secrets cloaked in the gathering dusk. But as the darkness deepened, a faint glow emanated from within, as if beckoning to the next unwary souls, promising them an escape, a challenge, a nightmare. And somewhere in the heart of the city, the voice that had welcomed them so warmly now laughed, a sound that echoed through the empty streets, a harbinger of the labyrinth's insatiable hunger for the fears of those who dared to enter. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, and tell us what you thought of our story. Until our next adventure unfolds, stay safe.